Hello friends, my name is Ravi. Welcome to this video of Springboard. Uh, in this session, we will talk about Springboard. What is Springboard? Why we need to use Springboard? What advantage of it over traditional way of developing any Spring-based applications? Uh, I will share little agenda so that we are on the same page. This is the agenda of this video. We will talk about Springboard. We will create sample application using Eclipse IDE, and we will be using Java 7, uh, and we will be creating one REST service so that we can show what are the steps required to create an enterprise application. So as you see, name suggests Spring Boot. One part is Spring Framework, another part is Boot. Let's talk about the Spring first. Spring is nothing but a J2E framework. It is used to create J2E application. It is annotation driven. Sometimes people use XML configuration also, and it provides the API and infrastructure support for integration. When I say Spring, right? When Spring was introduced, it mainly has dependency injections, but during course of time, right, it evolves into a big framework which has support for JPA, it support for the web, it has support for the REST services, messaging integration, Mongo integration. So a lot of things Spring started to provide in latest releases. That's where the all the problems started to come. Suppose you are a developer and you want to create one Spring web-based application which can talk to database and can give the record to UI. So there are three layers. One is the REST layers, which will expose as JSON data to client. Then we have service layer, which will talk to the JPA layer to get the data from the relational database or MongoDB database. So I have to include couple of dependencies in my project. One is a web, Spring Web, then a Spring JPA, then a couple of JSON serializer, and as we know, logging is the best practices we follow. Couple of jars we need to include. So how do we include those jars? We go on Google, see the latest version of Spring Web, we put in the POM file, then we go to see what is the version of Spring JPA, we put in the POM file. Similarly, all the versions we put manually. Sometimes these versions do not uh, they do not sync with other libraries. There will be some conflict between these libraries. For example, Spring Web might not be compatible with the Spring JPA version that we are using. So this kind of a failure we will get when we are running JUnits, or that's a good split scenario, right? While writing JUnits, you come to know this failure. Otherwise, you will come to know these failures, incompatibility of jars, right? At the deployment time, and that's where lots of problem happens. For example, you use certain version of Spring, and you have written the code, and you can use some APIs, and during deployment, you come to know this version is not compatible. What will you do? You will degrade your jar or you upgrade your jar. If you're not sure, right, during upgrade or degrade, the code you have written is going to be supported. So again, you have to modify your code. That's when Spring Boots come to the picture. Though Spring framework is huge, there is a lot of learning curve, there is a lot of configuration required to solve that problem. Spring Boot came to the picture. Sometimes people say Boot is like bootstrapping an application. No, what Spring Boot is talk about? Bootstrapping your application while development. It will save a lot of time. It will give uh, shortcuts to create production ready applications. So in this video I will talk about that and I will show how to create those. As I said, right, why we need Springboard. There are a lot of configurations required to write a gateway application. That's why we need Springboard. Okay. Uh, when we talk about Springboard, right, With help of Spring Boot, you can create standalone application. When I say standalone application, you create one Java project, you run on a standalone machine or on any container. It can run as a standalone. Spring Boot comes with inbuilt lightweight Tomcat servlet container. You don't have to download Tomcat from the Apache Tomcat site. It comes inbuilt in Spring Boot. Uh, the last part is very important. As if you go to Spring site, right? What this definition of Spring Boot? Let's see. Mhm. Let me open that. I went to some other place. Spring Boot. Hmm. I'll open the introduction column, which is hmm. As you see, right, it can create a standalone application, production ready application. Uh, it can give shortcuts to create a application, but mostly Spring is a boot is opinionated concept. Uh, let's see, for example, you are creating an application, right? As I mentioned, you will be keeping all this configuration manually. You will be putting all the jar dependency manually. But with the help of Spring Boot, 80% of the time, whatever project gets created, you have to just add that extra 20% to it to write your production ready business application. It saves a lot of time. Otherwise, what would happen? You have to do all this step manually in your project. Okay, so with this, let's start with your first application. We have talked a lot as a theory, right? But let's create first application. So in this session, what I'll be doing, I'll be using Eclipse and Java 7. You can use Spring Boot IDE as well. You can go and download from the Spring site. Uh, but I will prefer use standalone Eclipse and just have a Maven plugin inside it, and you need to have a Java for this. So let's create our first Java Spring Boot application. What you have to do, go on Eclipse, create a new project. I will be creating a Maven project. There is specific reason we need to use Maven because a Spring Boot gives the capability to download all the dependent jars using Maven. uh, I'll be using create simple project. uh, okay, here what did I use name? Okay, here we have to provide the group ID. uh, I hope you guys are aware of Maven. I don't want to cover Maven here, so there is a prerequisite for this session. I should have covered in the initial part of the videos. uh, we have to provide the group ID, artifact ID, now this part is very important, the parent one. So when we are creating any Spring Boot project, we need to provide the Spring Boot parent. So what we have to do is here org.spring framework.boot, then artifact will be Spring Boot starter parent, and we need to provide the version of which Spring Boot version we are going to use. So in this video we are going to talk about, we'll using 1.4.2. Release. So our project is created, it is having error. Let's see what the error is talking about. So if you see, I intentionally made that mistake to let you know what is wrong with this step. If you see, I made a spelling mistake. If your group ID and artifact ID is not correct, the Maven is not going to download all those configuration, all those dependencies from the Maven repository. So this group ID, artifact ID has to be correct. So let's fix it. So this error is gone. Let's rebuild it. So my Java project is ready. So let's talk about little bit about this, what this is parent is doing. So what I'm telling to Maven, this is a Springboard project. I want to inherit all the configuration from this version 1.4.2 release. Since I'm going to create Spring based web application, I need to provide the dependency of Spring Web. But anywhere, I'm not going to provide which Spring Web dependency version. That version will come from Spring Boot parent of 1.4.2. This is a version of Spring Boot. Let me clear that. Not the Spring Web, not Spring JPA. In this release 1.4.2, they have maintained the configuration in such a way that if you use other libraries, it will download those libraries which are compatible. I hope I'm clear here, right? Okay. So let's go and create our first class. com.learning employee app. Let's say I'm going to have a main method. I'll create generate comments. So my main class is ready. This is my bootstrap class which is ready, but still it's not able to run the application because there are certain steps are missing. First step is I need to tell Spring this is my Spring Boot application. Somehow it's not able to. Why is wrong with this? Oh, it is referring to Java 6. I need to change it. So let's change it to properties Java dot version 1.7. This rebuild it. Okay. If you see Java version is changed from 1.6 to 1.7. Let's recompile it. Strange. I should not get this error. Oh, if you see, none of the dependencies are downloaded yet. There has some problem with my palm. Okay, yeah. So I have created one skeleton yet. There is no dependency mentioned yet. So what I have to do, I have to go in dependencies, I have to mention dependency, group ID, org.spring framework.boot, then artifact ID, uh, spring boot starter web. Okay, now let's see magic happen. In Maven dependencies, all dependent jars are downloaded. I did not tell Spring that uh, it is a web application. I did not. I'm sorry. I did not include any web dependencies here. I did not include any Hibernate dependencies here. I did not include SL4G dependencies here. It's all get downloaded from these two statements. And which version to get downloaded, that's come from its parent is telling, oh, these are the supported version, you can use it. And if you see here, Tomcat embedded core and other set of libraries are also downloaded. As I said, Springboard comes with inbuilt lightweight servlet container. So my project is ready. Let's again go. This time it is going to tell me Springboard application. Since I've imported, I put annotation on top of this. I'm telling this is my Springboard application. Now I have to write main method, which I need to provide Spring Boot will start which application, which class is that. So I have to provide this. So as far as the code is concerned, code is ready. Let me run this. This console is very important. We have to go through this console. As you see, when Spring has started the application, it is based on 1.4.2. It's starting to start Tomcat, which is running on port 808, but it failed. Why? The port is already running, because before recording this video, another Tomcat was running on my machine with on the port 8080. So what I have to do, I have to stop that port. See, there is one more running. So I go here to stop it. So this port is stopped. Let me minimize it. Let me restart it. Let's go one more time. This is a Spring Boot based on 1.4.2. It's starting Tomcat, and if you see, it is loading the application context. It did anywhere we provided the application context? No, but Spring is creating for us. If we did not go through Spring Boot way approach, we have to write this application context in some form of XML or some configuration file. But here, Spring Boot is creating for us in the background. That's the advantage of it. We don't have to maintain those configurations, those application contexts. Spring Boot will take care for us. If you see, Tomcat is started, which is running on 8080. Since there is no REST service is exposed as of now, there is no URL mapping is available. Even though if I go on my local browser, I hit localhost 8080, I will get an error. But Tomcat is running. What is saying? There is no URL mapping is available for this URL. That's why I'm getting this error page. So thanks for this watching this video. In next video I will talk about how to create REST services and what are the steps you have to do. Thank you.